You've been told your whole life to eat more vegetables, more greens, more colors, more plants on your plate. And for most of your life, that was exactly the right advice. But here's something your doctor probably hasn't told you. After 60, that advice is dangerously incomplete because after 60, your body has changed in ways that make certain vegetables that were perfectly healthy at 40, actively work against you, against your kidneys, against your thyroid, against your joints. At the same time, there are three specific vegetables that become more powerful for you after 60 than at any other point in your life. Vegetables that act less like food and more like medicine. That's protect your brain, fight cancer, and literally rebuild your gut. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly which vegetables to put down and which ones to start eating like your life depends on it. Because after 60, it actually does. I'm glad you're here. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, because every week on this channel, we bring you the science that puts the power of health back in your hands. Now, let's get into it. Before I tell you which vegetables are on each list, I need to explain why after 60 matters. Because this isn't just a generalized health tip, there are specific biological changes happening in your body right now that change how your body processes food, including vegetables. Let me tell you about three of them. First, kidney function. Research published in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society has documented something very consistent. After age 60, average kidney filtration capacity declines by approximately 40 to 50% compared to young adulthood. Now, for most people, this decline causes no obvious symptoms. Your labs might even look normal, but behind the scenes, your kidneys are processing things more slowly. Certain compounds that a younger body clears easily start to accumulate. Second, thyroid sensitivity. As we age, the thyroid gland becomes more vulnerable to interference. Thyroid hormone production can decrease naturally, and certain compounds in food can disrupt it more easily in an older thyroid than they could in a younger one. Third, what scientists call inflammaging. That's not a typo. It's a term researchers use to describe the low-grade chronic inflammation that increases in virtually everyone as they age. And inflammaging is a key driver of almost every chronic disease we fear most. Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, cancer. What you eat either fights that inflammation or feeds it. Here's the key takeaway before we go further. The goal is not to eat fewer vegetables. The goal is to eat smarter vegetables. The right vegetables prepared the right way in the right amounts. For the body you have today, not the body you had at 35. Okay, let's start with the three I want you to be careful about. I want to start with this one because it's the most surprising, and I want to be very careful about how I say this. Spinach is on every superfood list, and for most people under 60, it absolutely earns that reputation. It's loaded with iron, folate, vitamin K, and antioxidants. For decades, Popeye had the right idea. But here's what changes after 60. Spinach is extraordinarily high in oxalates, oxalic acid. Raw spinach contains approximately 970 milligrams of oxalate per 100 grams. That is one of the highest concentrations of any vegetable you can eat. Now, in a younger body with fully functioning kidneys, oxalate is processed and cleared relatively efficiently. Your kidneys filter it out, it leaves your body, and you move on. But remember what I just told you about aging kidneys. A 40 to 50% reduction in filtration capacity. When your kidneys can't clear oxalate as efficiently, it starts to bind with calcium in your bloodstream. Together they form calcium oxalate crystals. Those crystals can lodge in your kidney tubules and damage them. Over time, with repeated exposure, this contributes to what clinicians call chronic kidney disease progression. Research published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that older adults who regularly consumed high oxalate vegetables showed a measurably increased risk of kidney function decline, up to 30% higher in the highest consumption group. But here's something even fewer people talk about. Oxalate doesn't just affect your kidneys, it binds to minerals in your gut before they can be absorbed, specifically magnesium and zinc, two minerals that are already commonly deficient in adults over 60 and that are critical for brain function, immune health, and muscle performance. So if you are eating raw spinach salads every day thinking you are doing something great for your body and you are over 60, you may actually be blocking mineral absorption and quietly stressing your kidneys at the same time. Now, here is the important nuance. I am not telling you to never eat spinach again. What I am telling you is this: cooking spinach reduces its oxalate content by 30 to 50%. Steam it, saute it, wilt it into your eggs in the morning. Cooked spinach is a very different proposition for your kidneys than a raw spinach salad, and limit it twice a week cooked. Fine. Raw spinach every day, first. After 60, I would reconsider that. And this one is going to push back against something you see everywhere in health culture right now: kale smoothies, raw broccoli snacks, green juices packed with raw cruciferous vegetables. These are celebrated everywhere, from wellness blogs to morning television. And for some populations, there are real benefits. But if you are over 60 and you are consuming raw cruciferous vegetables in large amounts every single day, raw kale, raw broccoli, raw bok choy, raw Brussels sprouts, you may be slowly suppressing one of the most important hormone systems in your body. I'm talking about your thyroid. Cruciferous vegetables contain compounds called glucosinolates, which in the body convert to goitrogens. Goitrogens, from the word goiter, interfere with an enzyme called thyroid peroxidase. This enzyme is essential for your thyroid to produce its hormones, T3 and T4. Research published in the journal Thyroid and supported by findings in the European Journal of Nutrition has shown that consuming more than 150 grams of raw cruciferous vegetables per day consistently reduces the thyroid's ability to take up iodine by as much as 25%. Without adequate iodine uptake, hormone production falls. Now, why does this matter more after 60? Because thyroid function already naturally declines with age. Subclinical hypothyroidism, where your thyroid is underperforming without your levels being obviously abnormal on standard tests. Affects an estimated 20% of adults over 60. And the symptoms: fatigue, brain fog, mild depression, weight gain, feeling cold. These are exactly the symptoms that most people just chalk up to getting older. If you are in that group and you are also consuming large amounts of raw goitrogens every day, you are compounding a problem that was already developing. Here is the good news, and this is really good news. Heat destroys approximately 90% of the goitrogenic compounds in cruciferous vegetables. Roasting your broccoli, steaming your Brussels sprouts, stir frying your bok choy, you preserve virtually all of the cancer-fighting sulforaphane and the fiber and the vitamins while eliminating almost all of the thyroid-disrupting effect. The vegetable itself is not the enemy. The preparation method is: cook your cruciferous vegetables. Keep raw servings small, no more than half a cup a day. And if you are already being treated for a thyroid condition, please have this conversation with your doctor. I want to be precise about this one because this one comes with an important qualifier. I am not telling everyone to avoid tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes have genuine health benefits. Lycopene, vitamin C, antioxidants. For many people, they are a wonderful food. What I am specifically talking about today is canned tomatoes and the pattern of heavy nightshade consumption in people over 60 who already have joint pain, inflammatory arthritis, or any autoimmune condition. And that group represents a very large portion of the American population over 60. Here's the concern. Tomatoes, along with other vegetables in the nightshade family, eggplant, bell peppers, white potatoes, contain compounds called lectins and solanine. In most healthy people with an intact gut lining, these compounds pass through without incident. But here is what changes with age. Research in gastroenterology has consistently shown that intestinal permeability, saccicuri and gitri and detri, often called leaky gut, and decree and D increases with age. The tight junctions between the cells lining your gut loosen over time. This means compounds that would have been harmlessly excluded when you were 35 can now cross into your bloodstream and trigger immune responses. A 2021 study published in the journal Nutrients examined the relationship between lectin exposure and inflammatory markers, specifically in older adults with rheumatoid arthritis and inflammatory joint disease. They found that higher nightshade lectin intake was associated with elevated TNF alpha and IL 6, two of the most important markers of systemic inflammation in this specific population. And why specifically canned tomatoes on top of this? Because the acid in tomatoes, combined with the BPA historically used in can linings and still present in many cans, creates a particularly concentrated source of both the lectin exposure and an additional inflammatory burden. Here is my practical recommendation. If you have joint pain, inflammatory arthritis, or an autoimmune condition, experiment with reducing or eliminating canned tomatoes for 4 weeks. Pay attention to how your joints feel. If you want to continue using tomatoes in cooking, switch to fresh tomatoes. And consider removing the skin and seeds, which have the highest concentration of solanine. Cooking reduces lectin content significantly as well. If you have none of those conditions, enjoy fresh tomatoes. This one is specifically about the intersection of canned products and an already inflamed system. Okay, now that you know what to moderate, let me tell you about the 3 vegetables I want you to actively add to your plate, because this is where it gets genuinely exciting. If there is one vegetable I would personally put at the top of the list for people over 60 who care about their brain, it is this one: beets. I study the health of blood vessels. I have devoted my career to understanding how your circulation affects every organ in your body, especially your brain. And beets are one of the most powerful foods I have found for protecting and improving brain blood flow in the aging population. Here's the mechanism: beets are extraordinarily rich in dietary nitrates. When you eat beets, bacteria in your mouth and gut convert those nitrates into nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is a molecule that your blood vessel walls use to relax, dilate, and improve circulation. A landmark study published in the journal Hypertension measured cerebral blood flow in older adults after consuming a high nitrate beet supplement. The result? Cerebral blood flow to the frontal lobe, the area most associated with executive function, decision making, and the earliest stages of cognitive decline, increased by 16%. 16% more blood reaching the most vulnerable part of your aging brain from a vegetable. But there is something even deeper here that I want to tell you about. Nitric oxide does not just dilate blood vessels, it also recruits the stem cells that repair damaged blood vessel walls. In my research into what I call angiogenesis, how the body grows and repairs its own blood vessels, nitric oxide is one of the key signaling molecules. Eating beets is essentially telling your body to begin repairing the vascular infrastructure of your brain. On top of that, beets contain pigments called betalains, intra the compounds that give them that deep red color. Betalains have been shown to significantly reduce 2 of the most important markers of systemic inflammation, CRP and TNF alpha. The same markers that drive Alzheimer's, cardiovascular disease, and joint destruction. How do you eat them? Roasted beets are delicious. Steamed beets are easy. You can buy them pre-cooked in the produce section of most grocery stores. Beet juice, 8 ounces, is a convenient option if you don't want to cook. Beet powder mixed into water or a smoothie gives you the same nitrate benefit. Aim for beets 4 to 5 times per week. One thing to know: beets will turn your urine pink or red. This is completely harmless. It is just the betalain pigment passing through your system. But it surprises a lot of people the first time it happens. So I want you to know in advance. Now, I told you earlier that cooked broccoli is great, and it is. But what I want to tell you about now is something that most people have never tried, and something that the science says is in a completely different category of power: broccoli sprouts. The tiny thread like sprouts that come from broccoli seeds that have germinated for just 4 or 5 days. You might think smaller plant, less nutrition. The opposite is true. Research from Dr. Paul Talalay and his team at Johns Hopkins University, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, found that broccoli sprouts contain 50 to 100 times the concentration of sulforaphane compared to mature broccoli. 50 to 100 times. Now, sulforaphane is already recognized as one of the most potent natural anti-cancer compounds we have identified in any food. It works by activating what researchers call the NRF2 pathway, NRF2, which functions as a master switch for your body's cellular defense systems. When NRF2 is activated by sulforaphane, your cells ramp up production of their own internal antioxidants, including glutathione, the most powerful antioxidant your body makes. DNA repair mechanisms are enhanced. Detoxification enzymes increase. Inflammation pathways are suppressed. Studies published in Cancer Prevention Research have specifically linked sulforaphane consumption to reduced risk of colon cancer, breast cancer, and prostate cancer, the three cancers that appear most frequently in Americans over 60. And there is emerging research showing that sulforaphane crosses the blood brain barrier and directly reduces neuroinflammation, the brain inflammation that drives Alzheimer's disease and accelerated cognitive aging. Here's the practical part. Broccoli sprouts are available in the produce section of most Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, and increasingly in mainstream grocery stores. But here's something I love to tell people. You can grow them yourself at home in 5 days with nothing more than a mason jar, a mesh lid, and $3 of seeds. You soak the seeds overnight, rinse them twice a day, and by day 4 or 5, you have a full jar of living, potent sulforaphane-rich sprouts. I think that is one of the most empowering things you can do for your health at any age. 2 to 3 tablespoons per day is the target dose. Add them to a salad, put them on a sandwich, mix them into your morning eggs. You barely taste them. They have a mild pepper flavor, right? But the Dell said the biological activity is extraordinary. This last one might be the most underappreciated vegetable in the entire American produce section. It is cheap, when often less than $2 for a head that will last you a week. It is available in every grocery store in the country. And the science behind what it does specifically for people over 60 is remarkable. Purple cabbage, also called red cabbage. That extraordinary deep purple color is your first clue about what is inside. That color comes from pigments called anthocyanins. And anthocyanins, in the context of aging biology, are doing something very special. Let me start with your gut, because I want to connect this back to something I said earlier about inflammaging, that chronic low-grade inflammation that drives disease after 60. One of the primary drivers of inflammaging is a deteriorating gut microbiome. As we age, gut microbial diversity decreases. We lose certain keystone species of bacteria that regulate inflammation, immune function, and even brain chemistry. One of the most important of those species is called Akkermansia mucinifila. Research has increasingly identified Akkermansia as a longevity-associated bacterium. So higher levels are found consistently in healthy centenarians, and lower levels are associated with increased inflammation, metabolic disease, and cognitive decline. A 2022 study published in Frontiers in Nutrition found that the anthocyanins in purple cabbage specifically promote the growth and abundance of Akkermansia mucinifila in the gut microbiome. This vegetable is literally feeding the bacteria most associated with longevity. But there's more. The same anthocyanins that feed your gut are also working directly on your brain. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that anthocyanins from purple cabbage are capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier. Die krijgen en die in die meaning they get directly into your brain tissue, where they reduce oxidative stress and protect neurons from damage. This is one of the very few dietary compounds we have identified that work simultaneously on gut health, systemic inflammation, and direct neural protection. That is extraordinary. And there is one more benefit I have to mention. Purple cabbage, like all cruciferous vegetables, contains glucosinolates. But remember, when cooked, the goitrogenic effect is neutralized. What remains is the activation of phase 2 liver detoxification enzymes, your liver's specialized machinery for identifying and neutralizing carcinogens before they can damage DNA. How do you eat it? Lightly sauteed with olive oil and garlic. Wonderful. Roasted until slightly caramelized. Turin delicious. But the most powerful way? Fermented, sauerkraut made from red cabbage, or kimchi that includes purple cabbage. Fermentation multiplies the bioavailability of the anthocyanins and adds live probiotic cultures on top of the prebiotic benefit. Have a cup of cooked purple cabbage 5 to 7 times a week, a quarter cup fermented daily if you can. This is one of the most cost-effective health investments you can make. Let me bring this all together into something practical that you can take to the grocery store this week. Here is what I call the after 60 vegetable swap. And here is a simple weekly blueprint. Beets, 4 to 5 times this week, roasted. 2 to 3 tablespoons of broccoli sprouts every day on your salad, in your eggs, on a sandwich. Purple cabbage, 5 to 7 times this week, cooked or fermented. Spinach, maximum twice, always cooked. Raw cruciferous, keep it to less than half a cup per day. That is it. No complicated meal plan, no expensive supplements, just a purposeful, science-informed adjustment to the vegetables you are already buying. I want to leave you with something important. Eating vegetables is still one of the best things you can do for your health. That has not changed. What has changed, what I hope you take away from today, is that the conversation after 60 needs to be more precise. Your body at 60 is not the same as your body at 40. Your kidneys filter differently. Your thyroid is more sensitive. Your gut is more permeable. Your blood vessels need more targeted support. The vegetables that serve that body best are not necessarily the ones that got the most marketing attention. They are the ones the science is pointing to. Beets for your brain circulation, broccoli sprouts for your cellular defense system, purple cabbage for your gut, your immune system, and your neurons, and the ones to moderate: raw spinach in large amounts, raw cruciferous daily canned tomatoes if you have inflammation. They are not poison. They are just not optimized for the body you have today. My own grocery list has evolved as I have gotten older. Not because I am more restrictive, because I am more precise. I know more now, and I want you to know more too. Your plate is one of the most powerful prescriptions you have access to. Unlike most prescriptions, this one has no copay, no waiting room, and no side effects, only benefits. If this video helped you see your vegetables differently, I want to ask one thing. Share it with someone you love who is over 60 and trying to eat well, because knowing which vegetables to choose matters just as much as choosing vegetables at all. Hit like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications, because next week I am going to show you the 3 fruits that work like medicine for the aging heart, and the 2 that silently spike inflammation without you knowing it. You will not want to miss that one. As always, keep your doctor in the loop. Make them part of your team. I will see you in the next video.